right, let's jump the map now to New York, where rapper Kid Cudi, whose legal name is Scott Mescudi, just finished testifying in the trial of Sean Diddy Combs. CBS News legal reporter Katrina Kaufman reports from outside that courthouse on what he told the jurors about his relationship with Combs and his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura.
Rapper Kid Cudi just got off the stand after a few hours of testimony in the Sean Diddy Combs trial, and he testified to the fact that he says Sean Combs broke into his house and blew up his car. January 2012. Kid Cudi gets a call from his dog sitter who says, "Your car is on fire."
Kid Cudi, how you feel about him testifying against Diddy?
Well, he testified, and I think he was more. He was very entertaining. He had everybody laughing and shit like that. You know what I mean? But he testified to somebody coming in his house because he would leave his door open.
Hey guys, so I just want to say, man, I've been seeing all the love and support. I just want to say thank you so much, man. People been hitting me up.
As the whole world watches Diddy's legal empire collapse, nobody expected Kid Cudi, the emotionally raw, genre-bending artist we all grew up with, to be the one testifying in court against Sean Diddy Combs. Born as Scott Mescudi, Kid Cudi rose to fame in the late 2000s with his hauntingly relatable hit Day and Night, and soon after, he became a household name thanks to his Man on the Moon albums. He wasn't just a rapper, he was a movement, blending hip-hop, rock, and deep emotional introspection. Over the years, he worked closely with Kanye West, collaborated with icons like Travis Scott, and carved out a space for artists who felt like they didn't belong. At one point, Cudi and Diddy were seen at the same events, the same circles, even the same industry retreats. And while fans thought it was all just hip-hop camaraderie, Kid Cudi saw a much darker side of things. So, why is he now on the witness stand, revealing names and truths no one expected to hear? Why is he exposing the dark secrets behind closed doors? Even going as far as listing rappers Diddy allegedly slept with, including DaBaby, Usher, and more?
Sean Combs trial day 8 in the books. Kid Cudi was on the stand today. That's what a lot of people have been waiting to see. We saw pictures of the burned out Porsche. The damage was primarily to the driver's side door. You could see where someone had cut in the top of the car and dropped a Molotov cocktail inside of the car. He talked about how he believed Sean Combs broke into his house when he first found out about Cassie, and he rushed over there to confront him, but he wasn't there when he got home. Oh, we had 4 more people also on the stand today. Former personal assistant. This is the one who wouldn't testify without pleading the fifth and getting immunity. And he said he quit because he saw the violence and felt guilty because he never stepped in. We also heard from the La Hermitage hotel manager who said he had to charge Combs an extra $1,000 deposit every time they stayed at the hotel because there was always lots of candle wax on the carpet and oil to clean up.
Kid Cudi had never talked publicly about the firebombing of his vehicle till he came here to court to testify at the trial of Sean Combs. There he was in the witness box in a leather jacket, white shirt, jeans, talking about the time he got a phone call from his dog walker saying his car was on fire. He raced home, remembering seeing his Porsche 911 Cabriolet on fire and seeing a bottle on the ground from a Molotov cocktail. And at that point, he told the jury he suspected Sean Combs. Called and brokered a meeting. It happened at the Soho House in Los Angeles, and Kid Cudi gave a very vivid description. He said he remembered walking in the room, seeing Sean Combs looking out the window with his arms behind his back like some kind of Marvel supervillain. And at the end of the meeting, when they worked out this whole thing about Cassie Ventura, he said he asked him, "What about my car?" And Sean Combs says, "I have no idea what you're talking about." At that point, Kid Cudi said he knew Sean Combs was lying.
What are you expecting today?
Look great.
I love the fit, not too serious.
The whole incident dates back to late 2011, when Kid Cudi, aka Scott Mescudi, was reportedly dating Diddy's former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. At the time, Cassie and Diddy's relationship was already rocky, but what Kid Cudi didn't know was that he was stepping into the crosshairs of one of the most powerful and allegedly dangerous men in the music industry. The truth is, Diddy had already built up a reputation behind the scenes, a reputation Kid Cudi would only come to realize the hard way. Because even a decade ago, Diddy wasn't just a music mogul. He was, as many testimonies are now revealing, a man whose obsession with power and control knew no bounds. And now, in a moment of poetic justice, Kid Cudi found himself back in the same orbit, but this time on the stand, testifying against Sean Diddy Combs in one of the most explosive trials in music history. What Cudi had to say was chilling.
Mr. Combs made it clear to you that he was also confused, true?
True.
Just like you, he's similarly situated. He did not, to your knowledge, know that you were dating Ms. Ventura, true?
Yes, true.
And he wants to understand how did this happen, and you want to understand how did this happen, basically, right?
Yes.
And Ms. Ventura was living two different lives. Is that true?
Yes.
Objection.
Overruled.
When you went in that room with Mr. Combs, no weapons, to your knowledge, true?
No.
He definitely didn't threaten you, true?
No.
In fact, he was gracious. I think your word was really calm.
Yeah.
And you were professional as well, true?
Yes.
And it was an understanding, a meeting that this was about a girl, a relationship, and both of you guys were played. That's pretty much how it ended, true?
True.
And the person who played you is the same person who played Sean. It's Ms. Ventura, true?
True.
To your knowledge, we're approximately, if you don't mind, approximately 13 and a half years after January 9th, 2012, when your car was damaged. Is that approximately true?
Yes.
To your knowledge, no one has been charged or arrested for the damage to your car. Am I right?
No.
Objection.
Sustained. The jury should disregard the witness's last answer.
In the 13 and a half years that has passed in California, have you ever been notified that there's been any other action on this case in California?
Action on?
The car, the damage to the car.
No.
Do you remember back when you were with Ms. Ventura, did she have multiple phones, if you can remember?
I don't think I remembered that.
Do you remember telling that to law enforcement, that she had multiple phones?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Can I ask you to look at something in this honorable court, with this court's permission, to see if it jogs your memory?
Yeah. If I said it, I guess I said it.
Do you know what a burner phone is? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
With regards to the night of the trespass in your home, I think you called it a break-in. I guess more narrowed to trespass, but that's what I'm talking about, okay?
Right.
You received a phone call from Ms. Ventura explaining that she gave your home address to Combs. Do you remember that?
The morning of, not the evening.
About 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning. Fair to say?
Yes.
I'm just trying to coordinate you.
Yeah.
And that information about your address, according to what you were told, came from Ms. Ventura to Mr. Combs?
Yes.
Apparently, once Diddy got wind of Cassie's alleged affair with Kid Cudi, something inside him snapped. According to Cudi himself, Diddy didn't just get mad. He became what Cudi chillingly described as a Marvel supervillain. That's not just rage. That's the kind of unhinged transformation you'd expect from someone who's used to controlling everything and everyone around him. Cassie, terrified and fully aware of what Diddy was capable of, did something desperate. She reached out to Cudi using what sources claim was a burner phone. Her message was clear. She had given Diddy his address in a moment of panic or pressure and now feared for Cudi's life. That alone says everything. Knowing the weight of those words, Cudi didn't hesitate. He agreed to meet her at a hotel they used to hang out at, probably one of the few places that still felt safe to her. But little did they know, that moment would be the beginning of something much darker, unraveling behind closed doors.
Direct examination is handled by prosecutor Emily Johnson, the same one that did Cassie Ventura's, and they immediately just get into the part that the jurors want to know. Did there come a time when law enforcement responded to your home in December of 2011? Yes. Why did law enforcement respond in 2011? Because I had a break-in. I'd like to start at the beginning of the break-in. How did that day start? Well, I got a call from Cassie around 5:30, 6 a.m., and she told me that Sean Combs had found out about us. I was really confused, but she asked me to pick her up. She sounded really stressed on the phone, nervous, scared, so I went to pick her up. And yeah, Kid Cudi is explaining that even that phone call at 6 a.m., which already based on the time is probably disorienting, he tells Prosecutor Johnson, yeah, he was definitely confused by the entirety of the phone call because he didn't even think that Cassie and Combs were still dating.
Oh.
So she's like, he found out about us and he probably was thinking something along the lines of like, why does it matter? I thought you guys weren't together. He says, I didn't think that she was still dealing with him. Because prior to all of this, when Kid Cudi and Cassie start dating, he says that he asked her about Sean Combs, quote, like if they're still hanging out. Now, Johnson is clarifying though, because after the phone call, he goes to pick her up. So she's like, why? If you just found out that they're still dating and she told you they weren't dating, like why'd you go pick her up? She wanted me to come pick her up. And she was also worried that he would come to my house because he asked for my address and she gave it to him. He goes to pick her up and he describes Cassie as being really, quote, very stressed, nervous, just scared, didn't know what Sean Combs would do. Just a reference going back to Cassie's testimony, I do think it's interesting how each witness talks about the same incident from a different perspective. I do wonder, with the trial expected to be a full 8 weeks, how the jurors are gonna like piece it together, because just even going through and cross-referencing the transcripts is a lot of work. And so far, we're only a small portion through the entirety of the trial. Now, we cross-reference with Cassie's testimony about that night, and she was likely stressed and scared because she was at Sean's house. She describes him as irate. He had just found out at a freak-off about the fact that she was dating Scott Mescudi.
Through her text message in the middle of a freak out.
Yes.
Right.
And she said he was just so angry. She says he threatens to release freak-off videos of her to hurt her relationship with Scott. And as she's leaving his house, she says, quote, Sean, kicked me in my back on the way out, so I just had a big bruise on my back. I fell to the floor and yeah, then I left. She goes back to her hotel to get her burner phone to call Scott. But the hotel room that she was staying in was trashed completely. She said it was just torn up. There was somebody peed all over the floor in the bathroom. My clothes were everywhere. The furniture was turned upside down. Somebody pooped in the toilet and didn't flush it. It was just gross. Presumably, she called Scott from this hotel sounding terrified. He picks her up and the two of them go to another hotel, the Sunset Marquis. Kid Cudi says he picked that hotel because he used to go there and he just thought it was a safe place where she would be off the radar. At this point, Sean Combs isn't even looking at Kid Cudi. He's just taking notes in the courtroom. Like it's so disorienting because sometimes I look over at him and he has the demeanor of someone in the press pew.
And this is where everything takes a wild turn. Enter Capricorn Clark, Diddy's former assistant and one of the most credible voices in this whole tangled mess. She worked closely with Combs and his companies off and on from 2004 to 2018, meaning she wasn't just around the music, she was deep in the empire. And during the time when Kid Cudi and Cassie were seeing each other, Capricorn wasn't just a staffer, she was reportedly Cassie's best friend, and more importantly, the only person Kid Cudi trusted enough to confide in, who was still affiliated with Diddy. Now here's where things heat up. Capricorn Clark's testimony, according to court transcripts, completely flipped the public understanding of the infamous incident.
Now, her testimony is critically important to the prosecution because her job put her inside the core of Diddy's business empire. Now, Clark testified that she was kidnapped, her words, when Diddy found out that Cassie Ventura was dating Kid Cudi. She also told the jury today about the multiple times that Diddy had threatened her own life, including during her very first day on the job. And she said that Diddy had final approval over every aspect of Cassie's career. Now, Clark, she worked for Diddy on and off for more than a decade, starting first as a personal assistant in 2004. And what she alleged happened in December of 2011 may be the most shocking. That's when Diddy discovered that Cassie was in a relationship of some kind with Kid Cudi. She said that Diddy banged on her door around 6 o'clock in the morning, holding a gun and furious that she didn't tell him about Cassie and Cudi. Clark said to the jury, quote, he just said, get dressed, we're going to kill this N-word. And when she tried to protest, she said Diddy told her, I don't give an F what you want to do, go get dressed. Now, Clark said that she was then swept into a Cadillac Escalade. They drove to Kid Cudi's home, and she claimed that Diddy and one of his security guards then went inside the house. Clark frantically called Cassie to tell her what was happening, testifying that a short time later, Cudi's car pulled up next to them and then took off. Diddy and the security guard jumped back in the Escalade. Then she described a short car chase before Cudi got away. After it was all over, Clark said Diddy gave her an ultimatum. She and Cassie needed to sway Kid Cudi against telling the cops that Diddy was involved in the alleged break-in. Clark testified, quote, he says, if you guys don't convince him of that, I'll kill all you MFers. But that wasn't the only time that Clark said that she feared for her own life. She claimed Diddy once accused her of stealing diamond jewelry. Said that she suffered through 5 straight days of lie detector tests inside of a gutted, rundown Manhattan office building. She testified the man giving the tests warned her, quote, I'm not getting a good reading. You need to calm down. You're going to be in the East River if I can't get a reading on this. Clark even said that Diddy threatened her on her very first day working for him, testifying that it's because she worked at Nite's record label before working for Diddy. She claimed Diddy took her to Central Park with his bodyguard. Happened. He told me he didn't know that I had anything to do with Suge Knight, and if anything happened, he would have to kill me. Clark also testified about Diddy's control over Cassie Ventura, saying that he had final approval on everything from Cassie's hair and makeup to the projects she was working on. On again with CNN's Elizabeth Wagmeister, who saw all of the testimony in court today. It was quite a day. She testified very emotionally, by the way, for a long period of time. And it was about a very dark parting message that she spoke about today when Diddy fired her in 2012. What did she say happened?
Yeah, so Capricorn Clark didn't just testify to what she alleged happened while she was working for Diddy. She also testified and told the jury that after she was terminated, that he essentially blacklisted her from the industry. I want to read you part of what she said on the stand. She said, quote, that he said that I would never work again, that he would show me that all these people weren't my friends, and he would make me kill myself. So she testified to the jury that she was scared. He had the power and the control over her career. She said that her home at the time was paid for by the company, her car was paid for by the company. All these things went away when she was terminated, and she had trouble getting another job.
She was breaking down in sobs throughout. I mean, it almost was like she was on the edge of always crying, and she did throughout her entire testimony.
Honestly, you can't help but feel for Capricorn Clark in all of this. She may have worked for Diddy, but she wasn't blind to the madness happening around her. The moment she caught wind that Diddy was on the way to Kid Cudi's house, fueled by jealousy, rage, and pure ego, her instincts kicked in. She didn't wait. She called Cassie immediately to warn her. What she didn't realize was that Cassie and Cudi were together at that exact moment, likely trying to piece things out and calm the storm. But when Cassie heard that Diddy was headed to Cudi's place, panic set in. Cudi immediately called his mom to make sure she was safe and out of the house, because when you know what Diddy is capable of, you don't take chances. And Cudi was right to be worried. By the time he made it back to his place, it was already too late. His Porsche, the very same car he'd poured his success into, was up in flames. Not by accident, not by engine failure, but by a Molotov cocktail. A literal firebomb was thrown in his driveway as a message.
Capricorn Clark was one of the only people in Cassie's life that knew that she was dating Scott Mescudi, aside from her family. So Capricorn Clark calls them, and she's like, hey, I'm at Kid Cudi's house. Sean Combs and his affiliates are at Kid Cudi's house. They're like inside his house.
So she's calling secretly.
Yeah, she's like, I'm in the car outside, and they're in your house.
I'm giving you a heads up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, she doesn't even know Kid Cudi's with Cassie. She's like, hey, Cassie, they're inside Kid Cudi's house right now. I'm outside in the car. They forced me to come here. I don't want to be here. Now, at that point, Kid Cudi says, he kind of starts freaking out. Prosecutor Johnson asks him, after you spoke to Capricorn, what did you do next? I got in my car and I went to my house. Did anyone go with you when you went to your house after the phone call? No. He gets into his Porsche 911 Cabriolet, kind of pertinent later. Now, side note, Cabriolet is essentially just a convertible, and his specifically has a soft top, so it's more fabric than a hard shell convertible. Again, pertinent later. He gets into his car. It's nighttime in LA. He's driving to his house. He starts calling Sean Combs. He has his number. Can you describe the conversation that you had with Mr. Combs on the drive to your home? Yeah, I'm gonna be very candid. I said, "Motherfucker, are you in my house?" And he was like, "What's up? I just want to talk to you." I was like, "I'm on my way over right now." He was like, "Well, I'm here."
That is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's me. I would probably call the cops or something because someone's like breaking into my house already with some crazy intent. I don't know if I would just go straight home and face them like that.
I also don't know if I would start the phone call with "Motherfucker, are you in my house?" when they're in my house.
Yeah, that's kind of...
But he's like driving. He's on the phone. When Mr. Combs said, "I'm over here waiting for you," what was your understanding of where Mr. Combs was located? At my house. What was Mr. Combs' tone of voice during the phone call?
But here's where things get even messier. And this part, Diddy might have never seen coming. While Kid Cudi was romantically involved with Cassie, she was still very much a part of Diddy's inner circle, attending the infamous freak-offs and elite mansion parties. That connection gave Cudi unfiltered insight into who else was present behind those velvet curtains. And let's just say, it wasn't just random guests. Cassie, knowingly or not, gave Cudi access to some major names. People who partied with Diddy, shared rooms with him, and maybe even shared more than just drinks. Among the most shocking, 2 music moguls who have long been tied to Diddy's world, Usher and DaBaby. Let's talk about Usher first. Usher and Diddy go way back. Diddy mentored him when Usher was still a teenager. In fact, Usher once lived with Diddy when he was just 14 as part of a flavor camp experience. Over the years, their bond stayed tight, but rumors always followed. In multiple interviews, Usher hinted at the wild times he saw while under Diddy's wing. Parties that had grown men doing unthinkable things.
Kick in the door, waving the 4-4. All you heard was "Papa, don't hit me no more." Let's go. Kick in the door, waving the 4-4. Hey, hey, hey.
I mean, I'm 13 years old. I'm not here to party with you. I don't want to go to the clubs. Matter of fact, I'm too young to even be in here. Why you got me in clubs? There were a lot of things I seen and a lot of positions that I think I was put in where I had to make very, very tough decisions in my life about who I would be.
And then there's DaBaby, one of the newer faces to land in Diddy's orbit. Fans have caught glimpses of the two hanging out at exclusive parties and studio sessions. The connection? DaBaby's sharp rise in fame seemed closely tied to powerful industry figures, and Diddy just so happened to be one of them. Speculation about how deep that relationship went has always been there. But now, with Cudi's testimony, people are starting to wonder if it wasn't just music they bonded over.
Gotta make sure nobody watching from their balconies.
And now, we officially have 4 names on that elusive list. In a past interview with Shannon Sharpe, DaBaby openly admitted that he did attend Diddy's parties, even dropping that he met none other than Jay-Z and Beyonce there. At first, it seemed like a casual flex, but in light of Kid Cudi's recent court testimony, that little mention hits way different now.
The whoop and that was just dope.
As the courtroom grew silent during Kid Cudi's testimony, new images surfaced online showing what was allegedly left of his charred Porsche after the 2012 incident. During the trial, jurors were shown graphic images of Kid Cudi's Porsche after the 2012 firebombing. The photos revealed the aftermath of a Molotov cocktail attack, a slashed convertible top, melted red leather seats, and extensive fire damage throughout the vehicle's interior. Investigators found remnants of a 40-ounce Old English malt liquor bottle and a designer handkerchief used as a wick, indicating a deliberate act of arson. Cudi testified that he received a call from his dog sitter, alerting him to the fire. Upon returning home, he discovered his car engulfed in flames. He suspected Diddy's involvement, citing previous threats linked to his relationship with Cassie Ventura.
And so here on the case, we'd like to take a little bit more time and focus on some of the things that the jurors saw and heard. So we want to talk about the evidence of Kid Cudi's car. Leather lined with gasoline, luxury, cayenne-colored seats coated black with ash. It's a Porsche that's being used to paint the picture of 2 rappers on a collision course. Kid Cudi believes the attack on his car was carried out by Sean Combs. You saw Erica Byfield. She's with us now because we do like to take this deeper dive. Walk us through what was found inside the Porsche.
So this car was significant in many ways, David, because we saw it in the gallery and then the jurors saw it, because this is Kid Cudi's Porsche. It's the black one that was parked in his driveway in LA when he says that someone firebombed his vehicle. Let's go inside the vehicle and kind of see what happened. So the jury also saw a slit in the top of the roof, but inside the vehicle they found this bottle here, which is an old English 40-ounce bottle. And this liquid that you see down here, they tested it later. They found out that that was actually gasoline. And what they did is they transferred it from here into here. This was a container that the investigators had. And then that's when they tested it. And then the final piece over there, number 3, that marker, that is the lighter that they found outside his vehicle in LA.
All right, so the classic Molotov cocktail, this is what the fire investigators testifying. But, you know, many wonder, well, why didn't that car burst into flames? There was something about the cloth testified, right?
Yeah, the cloth was an issue, but also if you look at the next picture, you'll see more about this bottle here. So the bottle, the way that it landed, and because it tipped over, and we'll see the cloth more in a second, all of the gasoline kind of pooled down here, and then the fire expanded from here. That's what the fire investigator testified about. He was deemed an expert by the judge in this situation. The investigator, as you mentioned, said on multiple occasions he's seen these Molotov cocktails really work and ignite the entire vehicle, but it did not happen here. So if we look now at the cloth, this is another reason, as you pointed out, David.
Charred right there,
Exactly, why he says it didn't work. And it's because of the type of material that it was. He said it was a silky, smooth material, probably an expensive material, and for some reason it did not catch on fire.
And Erica, there was also a glove that was the subject of a lot of discussion, even at one point the subject of an attempt to declare a mistrial. What was going on there?
So the glove was significant, and we didn't hear about this when the prosecution had its case. It was during cross-examination that this came up. We saw this black glove in the back seat of that Porsche, and we found out that the LA fire investigator did not take it from the scene, didn't even test it for any DNA like he had some other pieces of material there, because Kid Cudi told him that that was his glove.
Okay, all right, so
things took an even weirder turn when female DNA was found in Kid Cudi's car after the bombing. Now, this has a lot of people suspicious. Could this be some kind of fake result cooked up by the defense to shift the blame away from Diddy? It definitely feels like a move to confuse the narrative and create doubt. But Kid Cudi didn't back down. He testified about what he actually saw that day. The destruction of his Porsche, a symbol of his success, completely burned out. He described the shock and fear he felt, making it clear this was more than just a car fire. It was an attack meant to intimidate him.
Kid Cudi said he and Ventura were no longer dating at the time of this fire. Kid Cudi testified that he saw the Molotov cocktail in the front seat of the car and that police were called to his house. In one of the most candid moments of this trial thus far, when asked what his reaction was to his car being set on fire, Kid Cudi replied, "What the?" And you can fill in the blank on that one. Now, Kid Cudi said that he confronted Combs about his car. The two had a sit down to talk about Cassie, the alleged break-in, and what happened to his car. Kid Cudi testified at the end of that meeting. Kid Cudi says he stood up and shook hands with Sean Combs. Quote, "As I was shaking his hand, I said, 'What are we going to do about my car?' I made sure to ask him right when our hands were clasped together, where he couldn't run away, and I could look him square in his eye, and he looked right back at me, a very cold stare, and said, 'I don't know what you're talking about.' I said, 'Okay.' I took my hand from his and he said, 'Wait, I thought we were cool. Is there a problem?' I was like, 'You said you didn't burn my car, right? You said that's your word?' And he said, 'Yeah.' And I was like, 'That's it.'" Cudi said that Combs was very calm during that part of the conversation. Heading into that line of testimony, Cudi had said that he thought Combs had something to do with the break-in and his car being lit on fire based on issues that they were having off of the relationship that he had had for a short period of time with Cassie. On cross-examination, the defense tried to poke holes in what Kid Cudi was saying and to raise questions about whether Diddy would actually have something to do with this alleged arson. The defense pointed out that no one has been charged in this case, even though police were called and the LAFD investigated. They also said that fingerprints and DNA were taken from the scene. Then the defense said to Kid Cudi, quote, "You know that DNA comes back to a female, right?" The rapper responded, "You said what now?" And the defense said, "The DNA comes back to the female." It seemed like that line caught Kid Cudi off guard. This week, the government filed this motion ahead of the testimony of this LAFD investigator they plan to call to the stand. And it seems like they're trying to get ahead of the argument that the defense is going to make in connection to that burned Porsche, that there's no physical evidence that Combs was there or involved, and it was a female's DNA that was taken from the Molotov cocktail, according to the defense. Now, the government said they plan to call the LAFD fire investigator who responded to Kid Cudi's house in 2012, but they wanted to stop the defense from questioning that investigator about DNA. Part of the motion reads, quote, Investigator Jimenez did not collect the swabs personally, did not perform the testing himself, has no personal knowledge regarding the testing other than what is included in his report and the additional materials, and does not understand and cannot explain to what partial female DNA refers.
With Kid Cudi's testimony finally out, the reactions have been pouring in nonstop. Gene Deal even chimed in, saying Cudi did an amazing job on the stand and that the court definitely took notice. It's wild to think that Cudi kept all this under wraps for so long, staying silent about the whole ordeal. But now that he's been subpoenaed as part of the federal investigation, he had no choice but to come forward. This revelation is huge because it shows how deep this case really runs and how many people have been too afraid or too pressured to speak out until now.
About him testifying against Diddy.
Well, he testified, and I think he was more. He was very entertaining. He had everybody laughing and shit like that. You know what I mean? But he testified to somebody coming in his house because he would leave his door open, and it was around Christmas time, and they took all the gifts out the wrappers. He didn't say they took the gifts. You know what I'm saying? I can't recall he said they took the gifts. They just took them off the wrappers. I guess they was looking for something. I don't know what it was. You know what I'm saying? They locked his dog in another room. You understand? They didn't really ramshack anything like that. You know, ain't terrible nothing like that. And then he testified to somebody allegedly Diddy bombing his car, but he didn't say Diddy until the end. You know, he said that him and Diddy was having a lot of beefs and problems because he had found out that he was talking with Cassie, and him and Cassie was dealing with each other. So he was acting like that he wanted to fight Diddy. He was going to meet Diddy so they could have a one-on-one. He was going to fight Diddy. And he said Diddy was standing up there in the middle. He was at this big window, and he was standing in the middle like he was some kind of superhero, some kind of Avenger or something like that, with his hand behind his back. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I thought that was really entertaining. And then the prosecution went on and had him describe the stuff that Cassie was going through. And did he ever see Cassie with bruises and scars on her and stuff like that? He testified yes. He testified that she told him it came from Diddy. He testified that when him and Cassie stopped dealing with each other and stuff like that, his car ended up blowing up. But Diddy didn't know they had stopped dealing with each other. And so then the prosecution asked him, like, yo, did you believe him when he told you that he didn't blow up your car? He said, nah, I knew he was lying. You understand? But I thought it was funny where he said he was gonna fight Diddy. I don't think he would have had a chance with Diddy. My own personal opinion. But who knows? After all the drugs and alcohol, Diddy probably wasn't the same dude he was in the 90s and early 2000s. Was looking that Kid Cudi did a great job. You could tell the jury was entertained by Kid Cudi, bro. Not only were they entertained, you know, because some of them, you know, they try to keep a straight face if they laughed in all 9 yards. But what happens is this. They believed him. They believed him. And they was waiting for the defense to jump on top of Kid Cudi like they jumped on all the rest of the people as far as Dawn and the people that testified, you know what I'm saying, against Diddy, that was going at Diddy. And what happened was, when the lawyer got ready to do the redirect to go at Kid Cudi, Puff told him no. And the jury saw that, bruh. The jury saw that. Puff's like, nah, don't ask him no more questions. Now he paying all these lawyers all this money to defend him. And that's what that narcissism come in at.
After his powerful testimony, Kid Cudi took a moment to speak directly to his fans and supporters. He thanked everyone who stood by him throughout this intense trial, showing real gratitude for the love and support he received. Cudi made it clear that having that backing meant the world to him during such a difficult time.
Hey guys, so I just want to say, man, I've been seeing all the love and support, and I just want to say thank you so much, man. People have been hitting me up the past week, just checking in, and even today, and it really means a lot to me, man. You guys are the best. I love y'all. This is a stressful situation. I'm glad it's behind me, and yeah, I love y'all, man. Big love. Go stream Neverland.
Despite Kid Cudi's brave step to testify, not everyone's on his side. Kanye West came out strong, saying Cudi shouldn't have testified and that he's praying for Puff and his family, clearly siding with Diddy in this messy situation. Then Young Thug jumped in too, calling Cudi a rat for speaking out, throwing major shade and making it clear some folks see this as betrayal. This backlash shows just how complicated and dangerous it can be to speak up in situations like this, especially when powerful names are involved. The pressure's real, and Cudi's courage is being tested from all sides as the drama unfolds.
What about the people that's calling Kid Cudi a snitch?
That's what's wrong with our people today. Cassie could get brutalized. Gina could get beat. Kid Cudi could get his car blown up. But all you gotta say is, we gotta take that, you gotta take that stuff and you a snitch. Grow the f up. That's what I got to say. Grow up. You can't teach stupid.
So, what do you think? Was Kid Cudi a rat for speaking out against Diddy? Or did he do the right thing? And will DaBaby and Usher step up and confess during the trial too? Let us know in the comments below. And if you like this video, hit that subscribe button so that you never miss out on any new videos. And until then, fam, keep it real.